I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, here recording. Great. Um, let me quickly turn off Slack. Right. Okay. Okay. So the last 2 weeks we've been talking about a few changes to our API after the API review. Again, we have to set the context there. The person who's reviewing does not know everything that we've been working on and how we made many of the decisions. I think the cap itself needs to be improved to reflect how we've been thinking. Um, and that's one of the reasons we're getting questions. So we need to fix that problem first and then look into how we go ahead and change the API itself. Because if our mistake was, if we did make that mistake of, well, let me not even call it a mistake. If we haven't done all the edits, all the changes that we had discussed in during the meetings in the past few months, and if that's not reflected in the cap, it's easy for someone to be misled and think that we're missing some pieces. So that needs to be addressed in the cap itself. Secondly, assuming this thing is done, if there are any other questions that come up that require us to look at the, take a look at the API again, make changes, we should obviously do that. So
He said it seems now kind of difficult for Tim to do the review because everything's merged. I see he just have this long reviews,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you reply is also not that easy. Does it make sense to put everything in a Google Doc? Maybe you can ask him. I'm not sure what is the best. I just thought this is
I think
hard
see,
to.
many of the questions that are coming up, Shing, are simply because the KEP doesn't have the information given there. That's all. The
Okay.
questions are not something is wrong. The questions are more like, how does this work? Or have you thought about this? And many a times we have thought about it. It's just the KEP doesn't reflect it.
Okay.
Um, and there were some questions that were good ones, but the solutions. So there's two things Tim is doing there. One is he's asking the questions, how do you do something, which is good. The second is he's proposing solutions. That's why I've been saying that we haven't done a good enough job in the KEP, because he thinks we haven't thought this through, so he's giving us solutions, which is not true. um, and his solutions are, I would say, it's exactly like how ours were when we first started thinking about it. So it's still, I would say, naive, but obviously that's the way things go. You have more discussions, you flush out the solutions more. So we have to show him that we've actually thought all of this through, and then we have to show him what solution we have. Rather, right now he thinks we haven't thought about it, and we don't have a solution either. So I've asked him for another meeting, and we need to get that across. That's our job, to make sure that Tim is on the same page as us, because he's doing the API review. Um, and finally, we did expect some changes to happen in the API review, and that's what we're going to be talking about today as well. Um, and it's okay. It's okay if we have to make some changes to the API review. Like, I don't think the changes are going to be major, because we have done a good job before even this API review. And as changes or as feature requests come in, if we have a good foundation, the changes will be manageable. Adding those features will be very manageable, and I think that's the position we're in. Um, so let's actually go over and look at the big picture of what our priorities are and how we move forward. So again, we have demo, we have API review and alpha. I think we can proceed with the demo, even though we're proposing some changes to the API. We can proceed with the demo without the changes to the API. Because again, like I said, we're not looking at fundamental changes to the API. We're looking at, I'll show you in a little bit how the changes would be very manageable. There is one thing that we were stuck on with the demo. We've done development, we have things working, and where we can create bucket, grant access to that bucket, and provision the bucket into a pod. Um, but here is where we're having we're stuck right now, and Shing, let me show you Kubernetes SIGs spec and pull requests. So Shing, I have to say,
What?
at this point, we're being held back. This was the pull request was made on, the last edit was made on 22 days ago, or well,
Okay, yeah,
maybe.
I'll take another look at
No,
pull request
no, no.
merging. I
The
think
thing
it's
is,
fine actually.
no, the thing is, the team is held back. That the team is really held back. We could have moved forward. We've lost 2-3 weeks of work, and just because, and Saad has not attended the meetings either. Like we need to do something about this thing. We're not able to move forward like this. We need access to be able to merge here. We are not even alpha yet. Wh- wh- You know, why don't we
Right.
have access?
Yeah, well, okay, so if we are really following like what is done in the CSS spec, actually, those are also,
Yeah, but we're not
have to
alpha yet.
wait.
There's nothing stabilized
Uh,
yet.
yeah, that's fine. I think I can, I think I can actually merge because I already
Okay.
reviewed it. I think you have already addressed Saab's comments.
Yeah.
And if he still has comments, you can still change it. So I think it
Of
should be
course.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That'll be good. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Please. The thing is, everyone's been waiting for this because this is one of the central pieces that touches a lot of the code. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Yeah. All right. I look forward to that. This is good. Now moving forward to um, what Tim was talking about. So So in the API review, the core of his questions and the answers that the solutions he was trying to provide on top of his own questions were about bucket mutation. We started with bucket mutation, but before we even addressed it, we talked about self-service for mutation. Now, again, we should treat these as just conversations and ideas rather than this is the definitive word and this is absolutely required. So, first thing I want to talk about is bucket. How important is bucket mutation itself? Um, do we even need it? That's a question we haven't touched upon, and it's something we should have a clear understanding of before we proceed.
Well, I took my first stance was we don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
And for an MVP, I don't see how you could argue we need it.
I agree, at
But
least for MVP. But in the long run, do we still need it?
yeah, that's a harder question to answer.
Is it even fair to say that we put out what we have during MVP and then get people to use it and then look for feature requests? The question is just, is it fair to say that?
I think we need to have a stance on like
Mm-hmm.
how should you mutate things, and if the stance is, oh, you do that out of band, like then that's the official answer.
Okay. And okay, I think that's a fair answer, to be honest. Now, um, okay, let's say we do say that. Let's say we just say you do it out of band. Um, I think. I'm just thinking this through. So let's say we tell them to do it out of band. That's not very different from persistent volumes, correct?
With the exception of resize, right? Volumes do support resize as a self-service operation that's very
But
well
that
managed
came
by,
in way later,
well,
a
maybe
few
like
years
6
after.
months later. But I mean,
I mean, the
the
proposal.
fact it's
Mm-hmm.
still not, it's still in beta is for different reasons because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely complicated. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like for in large part
Mm-hmm.
for volumes, we don't let you make changes to them in band other than to the size, and that resize turned out to be a monstrously complicated feature.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Um, and you're saying that's why it's still in beta.
Yeah, there's just a long list of corner cases that never really got sorted out, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been dragging our feet to actually fix them all.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to declare it GA until there are no more corner cases.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's true. That's the responsible thing to do. Okay, so I think as our first step, just as a first step, um, I think it's okay to say bucket mutation is not required for MVP. Um, and our stance could be the admin handles it out of band. Again, this is not a very everyday operation. This is something that happens rarely. Generally, the requirements are known upfront, and we've talked about this before, of 6 months ago or so, and we consciously made the decision that it's not something that's uh, going to be very important or very frequent, I would say. There might be a few cases, very few cases where that might be needed, but it's not something that can't be handled by an admin doing things out of band.
yeah, I think a good way to look at it is that we're not trying to design Cozy to be like a human-facing management interface. We're trying to design it to be a machine-facing management interface where you
Right.
have automation workflows that need to just be able to do their thing and do them repeatably.
Right.
And so you have to be able to imagine a situation where the machine wants to create a bucket and then wants to change something about that bucket after it's created, and
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, why would the machine need that ability?
Right. Right. Do you have possible scenarios where the machine would need that ability?
No, I mean, like I think resize was a situation where sometimes you make it small and then it needs to be bigger later.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in general, like you said, you know what you want up front,
Yeah.
and if you change your mind about what you want, you typically start over, right, and write a new
Exactly.
workflow that makes new buckets.
Yeah.
But Ben, when you think of access patterns for buckets, you could start off with a bucket that you want private or restricted, and now when things have settled down or they're more um, well thought out in the data in the bucket, the objects in the bucket, then you want to share it or make it public. And so that's a change that would naturally evolve over time as data matured, say. Um, and
That's not
so
even a mutation on the bucket, Jeff. It's not a policy
what?
even. Quite.
Well, it's a field supported in Cozy today, and and what and you're saying the change to that, which I think is a reasonable use case, would be done out of band.
Yeah.
And then, so if that's the case, then you have to decide if Cozy reflects that change or not. But I just wanted, even with a machine facing focus, and I like that. I like that concept, Ben. That's a nice way of saying it, or it makes me think about it a little differently. I like it. Even with that, I think there are cases where bucket properties could change naturally over time.
Well,
That's
but the way I think about it is like the value of Cozy is not for these like long-lived buckets that have been around since 3 years ago, and they're
Right.
being used for multiple purposes. It's for when you programmatically need to be able to create buckets for some workflow and destroy them when you're done, or or use them across there's some workflow that involves creation and destruction and usage of buckets. What you're describing is more like there's a human in the loop changing things inside the workflow. And I'm talking about situations where the workflow has been coded and it just needs to do its thing,
Right.
and no human was involved from the beginning to the end of that workflow. As long as Cozy can do everything that workflow requires, then if a human wants to change his mind about something, he just changes the workflow and starts over. Um, that's how I think about it.
Do you see brownfield use cases, Ben?
That's primarily for sort of bootstrapping. I imagine that in the medium to long term, those will go away, I
Mm-hmm.
think,
Mm-hmm.
or their value will be vastly diminished.
Yeah.
I I think that it to get people started. Brownfield is valuable because you have a bunch of stuff in buckets maybe that you want to, and you're trying to get yourself onto a Cozy workflow without losing all your data. So you got to do a one-time import. But then I hope that going forward, everything's greenfield. I mean, I don't think there's very many cases where people do like the brownfield PV thing, where I have some data outside Kubernetes and I create a PV and then I pull it into Kubernetes that way. That's extremely rare now. Maybe it was more common in the early days.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. Jeff, did you go ahead?
Well, yeah, continue.
I think Jeff wanted to say something.
No, I was on mute.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think that should be our official stance. And I think we should continue going the way we are for MVP and alpha. And I think, like Ben is suggesting, it's not going to be a common use case. We will open ourselves up to new feature requests from users, and if we have enough interest in something like bucket mutation, and something that needs to be supported by Cozy rather than something they can just do on their own out of band, if the value that Cozy adds is significant enough, then we should definitely approach this problem. But I think we had a good reason for not going down this route last time. So that's where I want to leave this topic, this bucket mutation topic. Okay, so I'm just going to take silence as approval and move forward.
So one question is, I understand that we should leave this topic, but does it qualify for some good documentation somewhere that these are the fields that can change or not change over a period of time, and if that's what would be the behavior, things like that, right?
I think we should document why we didn't go into mutation, or what the purpose of Cozy is. I think it's a good way to put it, to say Cozy is automation to create and tear down buckets for a workload.
Yeah, I love the way Ben put that.
Yeah.
And but the point is, should this be spec'd out clearly in the cap, or?
I don't think we can do that, right? Like, think about how many fields can we go and document and say this is mutable, this is not mutable.
Documentation, I mean, at least overall, because the bucket class has, or bucket object has certain attributes in there. So we did not, maybe the description of those attributes should be much more clearer so people will understand that changing them will have some impact, right? That's what
yeah, that is true. And our stance is nothing is mutable right now.
Okay.
In that case, we should, does that change some of our fields to be moved out of spec and into status?
I don't think so. I don't see. No, those are the fields that are filled in by the controller when requesting the bucket. So they're not status fields. They're spec fields.
Right.
Yes, spec is what you asked for. Status is typically what actually exists.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's the way we move forward. Because it's always important to take a step back and ask if what we're going down is even worth it. Yeah, and I think this is what we should go and inform Tim and whoever else is. There's a person named Solomon who's reviewing the API. Both of them should know that along with everyone in the community, this is how we've decided to move forward. And again, as always, we say we're open to changes or new requests as needed. All right, so I want to pause here for a second, give people another chance to ask more questions if you have any. Okay, if not, I want to go into figuring out where we are in terms of development, because I think the last 2 weeks have been a slump for development. We've been waiting on that PR to be merged, but now that that's going to be unblocked, we should start focusing on development again. So I just want to get a quick update from. There are a bunch of people here. I don't know who all are here. So if you're working on something, just go ahead and just speak about what you're working on. And then right after that, we'll go into deletion and finalizers one more time, because we didn't close that topic out. So who here is working on some part of either the code or documentation? Go ahead.
Sid.
Hey,
yeah, this is Yanis. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just still finding my way around how all the pieces work. I think I'm ready to start contributing on the controller, have a better understanding. And so basically, what I'm trying to do is just try to bring up the sample driver and see it working. And in this process, I think I discovered 1-2 issues that I reported. I did some small PR on the sidecar for the permissions. Sorry, for the sample driver for the permissions on the YAMLs. Yeah, I'm still exploring the whole. It's a lot of code that I need to familiarize myself with, but at least for the controller, I should be able to have some input early the coming week on the README.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you were working on just finishing up the README docs, like the repo level README docs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And then you were also after that you wanted to focus on the sidecar, correct?
So on the sample driver, at least, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to make sure that it works, that it's something that we can show to the community and start implementing for the different providers.
Vendors. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so we've got Yanis here from IBM, who's going. So are you going to implement this for SoftLayer or?
So it's for the IBM Cloud, right? For the course, the IBM course, right? So it's not. It's on my intentions, right? It's not. I don't know. Maybe we'll coordinate with Srini as well too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but it's my intention at least to contribute to that. I don't know who else is interested in that. But okay. Yeah, I guess that for the IBM Cloud, it would be a good contribution both for the community and for us, I think.
Mm-hmm. And okay, that also brings me to Ben. Ben, it would be a good time for your team to start looking at writing a driver for NetApp.
Oh yes. I have been pushing for that to occur. It's not going to be on my plate, I don't think, but I am trying to find the person who will do it.
Okay, yeah, get them on board, because I think if a lot of people if all of us come together right in the beginning and start working on things, I think we'll end up with something we all we all feel like we have a design that works for us.
Yeah, and you're going to be working on a Ceph one as well.
Is that going to be you, Jeff?
No, but
okay,
but
the
Ceph will be.
Yeah, please welcome. Everyone's welcome. And Guy is here. Are you going to be implementing for Nuba or Guy? Welcome back, Guy. It's been a while.
Hey, yeah, sorry for being so much time away. So yes, I don't know about the actual plan, but I was trying to follow up and see what's the right time, and if possible, I I would be happy to take a look, take the first stab, and then see who can pick it up from the Nuba team. And
Okay. Yeah, that
so
will be.
if you feel that's the right time, then I can start
Yes.
just browsing it.
It is. It is. So it's still early in the sense that we have a framework, we have a skeleton for people to get started with, and we have a sample, very crude sample driver written, but it's enough for people to start writing their own drivers, because that's one of the ways the framework will also improve.
And there's no so if that's going to land in somewhere, like in another project, is there any way to consume it from Kubernetes builds already, or is it all just manual sort of deployment right now?
Yeah, we have deployment docs, even we've written it down. I'll show you. Container object storage.
Sorry if you already covered it. I've been a bit.
No, it's okay. This is so we've added good docs now. So everything that we've been doing is much better documented. So if you were to go to the API repository, you'll see our documentation. And if you go into deployment guide here, you'll see how we can deploy it. So we've used Kustomize, and to set up the whole project as it is today with the the only sample driver that we have, this is what is the set of commands. Now, ideally, ideally what I'd like to have is multiple sample drivers or multiple drivers, and you would choose which driver you want by setting an environment variable here. So if you want to say Minayo driver, you'd say driver equals Minayo. If you wanted Ceph driver, you'd say driver equals Ceph, and you'd execute this command, which is possible. That's something that can be done with Kustomize. So yeah, it's very simple to get started with doing this.
And there's a minimum Kubernetes version for it so far, or is it?
Actually, no. None of this. 113, because CSI came in only at 113, but other than that, no.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I can take just a initial look and see how that looks from just building the maybe the sample, deploying it on my end.
Yeah.
This is good. No OpenShift YAMLs though, if that's what you're asking.
No. So I'll start with Cube for starters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So I want to get a quick update from Tejas. He's on the call. Tejas has been working on. Tejas was the one who added the deployment guide. Tejas has been an admin for a long time, and he's added it from the perspective of an admin that's going to consume this document, which is how we want it to be. So Tejas, what's the status?
Hey, I don't have the draft for writing the driver, but I'm currently working on that. Like,
okay,
how to write a cozy driver doc.
Right, got it. Okay, so that's what you're working on. How to write a cozy driver, right? Yes. Okay, sounds good.
I see also the application side, like the usage, and not just deployment, right?
There's how to make your application cozy compatible. We need someone to take this task. If I understand correctly, Yanis is going to progress from writing the README to writing code. Is that right, Yanis?
So for the controller or the
driver?
For the sample driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can take that.
Yeah. So and then will you? So you mean this? You can take up application documentation, or were you saying you'll take up the coding job?
I will start with the documentation, right? Let's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. This is still an open task. How to write your own application cozy? How to make your own application cozy compatible? This has to go into the bucket.yaml that will be presented into the pod, and how we should also probably give SDKs in Go at least, or use OpenAPI to auto-generate a bunch of SDKs or something that people can just import and just use. What do you all think?
yeah, like a helpers, like a.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Auto-generated SDKs that'll just tell you, um, that'll just give you all the different calls. So you use import the library, and then you can just call get bucket or whatever. Something simple like that. Or it'll even give you not just get bucket, IO operations and all of that.
IO operations like
Yeah, like get object, put object, and delete and all that. I mean, we need to define the scope of that, I think. But is the question is is that SDK something we should even think about providing?
I mean, if you have like, I mean, people can use like the SDK that there is for AWS or Min.io, right, on their Go code. Do you think they need something more than that? I mean, I'm guessing that the application starts working with the Cozy bucket after it's provisioned. So it's, or do you suggest that the application should also create the bucket and?
Okay, so when I said SDK, what I meant was an SDK to parse the bucket.yaml. So the first step that someone has to do who's writing who's making their application Cozy compatible is to change how they retrieve the bucket name and the endpoint for the bucket and the access key and secret key. We can automate that. I mean, we can give an SDK that people can use, and maybe we just start with Go. I think just Go is enough. We don't even have to do many languages that people can use.
Sid, what would we want to do on top of just like generating client Go bindings and putting them in a well-known location?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I meant.
Okay. So once you have the client Go bindings, you can interact with the Kubernetes CRDs, and then everything else is what you're already doing today to do bucket stuff.
No, you mean, but Sid, you mean the application itself, right? You want the application consuming the bucket configuration.
Yeah.
To have some, instead of just a recipe, right? The documentation, you wanted to have some like ready-made code for pulling and having, let's say, your AWS S3 client configured or created for you, or configuration object or something, right? Having that ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it makes sense even to go like that. That sounds like a good step. Like that's the first step. It might even make sense to go further later on. But
even do IO, right? Because protocol is what we standardize on, not a vendor.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I think we all had that thought eventually to have something in Cozy that will have the protocol side as well in some form, right? To have at least a basic protocol for IO. But I think your approach is good. I mean, you just starting off from reading the configuration is the kind of thing that Cozy added into the mix, and we kind of need to handle that for the. Or it might be helpful. I'm not saying we have to, but might lower the bar.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, I think. No, I think it's actually needed because right now our first step is adoption. Like we want, like all of the vendors can go and write Cozy drivers, but we need applications to start using them for Cozy to become, like the new way of consuming object storage. And so I think we should have the SDKs.
So another question for you, maybe that's off topic, but I also know that the Min.io has its own sidecar for performance reasons and these things, right?
Yeah.
But that so configuration is nice, but it still makes it rather difficult to consume, because when you need to read the configuration, you also need to interject into the application very tightly. And the application has to be recompiled or repackaged or something like that.
Right.
But with if you take the approach of providing the endpoint as a sidecar, like I've seen Minayo do for other reasons. That might get the application sort of ignorant to that configuration, to the change in configuration, like the pod. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying the sidecar would take care of all sorts of communication with the backend, and all applications just have to talk to the the sidecar.
Right. I mean, it's not mandatory, of course. It's just an optional path where applications who are not going to contribute new code just for that immediately can get the benefit of connecting to the same model, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I'll explain to everyone what the sidecar approach that Minayo is doing is, and then I think this is definitely open to discussion. So what Minayo does and why it uses sidecar. So when we call our sidecar Sidekick, the idea behind Sidekick is it's a reverse proxy to talk to a remote Minayo server, and the way it's done is an application which already somehow has the credentials to talk to Minayo. Would simply always connect to the local IP address, which is the sidecar's IP, and sidecar always listens on a particular port, and the application does not need to figure out how to talk to Minayo, or it does not need to figure out which endpoint of Minayo to talk to. For say geographical DNS routing and all that is taken care of by the sidecar. That way, what happens?
We can generalize it and say that the application doesn't even have to provide credentials. And,
exactly.
So that's the extension of it to the cozy world where like the credentials can be handled by the Sidecar Sidekick container. And whatever the credentials that the application chooses to pass, it really doesn't matter much because the Sidekick will have its own set of credentials to talk to the rest of the system.
Yeah, what we're talking about is really a server that we'll maintain, that the application can talk to and just assume that it has access to whatever bucket that it's interested in.
So I'm not opposed to any of this Sidekick stuff. It sounds great. I think for achieving our goal of adoption on the application side,
we don't need
it's really important that we illustrate how like a non-coder can take an existing application and adapt it to just run on Cozy. So like say, here's how you take the pods you already have with the code that you can't modify, and here's the YAML that you add, and in the init container, that whatever it is that you have to do to glue something that's already compiled and running to the Cozy interface that like a scripter non-coder type person could manage. If you can get those people to get interested, I think that's where you'll get your adoption from.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Sid, Sid also, I think my suggestion is that I see two types of applications though that we need to find adoption on. So one is the the regular the users that on their pods they just want to consume, read or write data to the S3 buckets, right? And the second category I think is the Kubernetes native applications that would access the buckets maybe on the level of the object itself, of the Kubernetes object itself, right? Does it make sense? So it's important to have adoption in both, I feel, right?
Okay, so you're saying applications that that kind of consume the Cozy APIs, and then others are data applications that are going to consume the buckets. That's the distinction you're making, right?
No, so basically other Kubernetes services that can be built on top of Cozy buckets, let's say, right? That are not interested in accessing the credentials themselves, or just work with a bucket object as Kubernetes objects, I mean, right? And the other is the users applications, right? That they just want to consume buckets and they don't care for the internals of the bucket objects itself, or this has to be as friendly as possible, right? As Guy said, something on the environment variables or something pre-configured for them to the S3 clients to work as out of the box as possible. But this is not the requirement though for services, Kubernetes services building on top of Cozy, right? Does that make sense? The distinction that I'm trying to make?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one type of application you're saying is what will talk to the Kubernetes objects like buckets and bucket requests and whatever.
Exactly.
The other is the data applications that are going to use the credentials and talk to the bucket.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. But how does that factor into what we're talking about in terms of go ahead.
About it's just about what type. So on the links here, it should be I think we just need to address the date, at least on the first day one. I think we should address how the users who just want to consume the data should work with Cozy, and then day two maybe how to build on top of the Cozy these new CRDs, right? Essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yes, the documentation can. I guess this kind of makes that distinction, anyways. How to write a Cozy driver is how to write your application Cozy compatible. I guess it doesn't address quite a bit how to write a framework on top of Cozy.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know if we should have docs for something like that. And maybe if we do have it, maybe not as the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
okay. I would just want to bring up that it is something that could be interesting in the ecosystem, right? It would be nice to encourage people to build who build Kubernetes services to build on top of Cozy, right? So it's something to note in the future, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad we brought it up in conversation. And in the future, someone is going to bring this up again. We've brought this up once before. I think Ben brought it up even. The thing we brought up was, Cozy needs to be implemented in such a way that, others can build on top of it. That was one of the aims we had way long back, 6 months ago or so. So I think you're bringing up the same thing in a different way. And yes, that is definitely something we want to facilitate.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so good that we talked about adoption. So one thing I would ask all of you is, you've participated in the entire process so far. I think all of you, each and every one of you, should go look at the KEP, the enhancement proposal that we have, and either leave your feedback, respond to questions others have asked, or make new PRs to either augment or edit what's there. Does that make sense? See, I think it is an proposal that we've all come together to make, and the people who are reviewing the API haven't spent the amount of time we have. So it's important that we do a good job of explaining why we made the decisions we made and what are the decisions in the first place. If one person should own this KEP, obviously the responsibility of it will lie on one person, Jeff, but everyone should contribute. At the least, read the KEP.
The KEP's no different than code that's been merged, and then we learn more or we examine it more closely and we see issues. And the KEP I view is the same. And although historically I've been the owner of it, I certainly don't have to. It's a community. Yeah. And so I don't want the fact that the status is merged to cause people to think everything's completed and it's exactly just right. So PRs are very valuable. It will get you tied into the group. You'll get reviews on your PR, and it's a way to contribute and get plugged into this little community we're building.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how Jeff, oh, you just pasted it. Yes, guy, that's the one. 2349. Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. So please read the cap and make all the suggestions that you think are needed, and respond to the comments here and ask questions if you have any. We've done everything in the open, so we're going to do this also the same way. Because this cap is what others like API reviewers are going to see. And if API reviewers go ahead and ask for changes to the API, because the cap isn't clear in every part of it, that's not that either wastes the time of the community, or it could potentially lead us in the wrong way. So I think it's important. All of you've contributed to this project, and I think one of the important steps is also presenting it well to the rest of Kubernetes. And so I think you should participate in this cap process. Like Jeff was saying, it's not just about merging it, but really about the cap reflects what we're doing to the rest of the community.
When is it planned to be completed?
We don't have anything that's, there's no hard deadline as of right now.
And the API review is planned?
It has to be done. We've already started it. It has to be done within 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you start reading it now, the bottleneck in this API review process is going to be the time that API reviewers have to contribute to this this cap. That's another reason we need to make sure the cap is in great shape. So that we save their time and also we save our time. We don't have to go back and forth trying to explain what it is that we're trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we have 10 minutes left. I think unless does anyone want to bring up any other topics? I think as soon as we start implementing sample drivers, we'll start improving the existing state of the project, and also we'll know if any new features are needed or if any API changes need to be made. But that needs to start right now. So I'm looking forward to all of you starting work on that. And Shing, would you know how we can get in touch with Google Cloud?
Google Cloud? Who?
Yeah, because they have to start writing a driver too.
Oh,
driver.
That you well, you can ask Sad. Or you yeah, I think Sad would be, because he's familiar with this, or Andrew also has not been. But yeah, I think Sad would be the right person.
Okay, and how about for Amazon? Would you know who to contact for that?
Amazon, I really don't know, because I was also looking for someone from Amazon.
Okay, got it. Yeah, maybe
there is some. Well, yeah, I don't know if he's like. Yeah, there was someone actually at SIG storage meeting today. He said he's familiar with EBS, so maybe I can ask him. But I don't know if they may not be the same, like from the same team. But maybe I can just check that as well.
Yeah. Please, yeah. If you just let me know that person's name, I can even send an email out, and
okay,
we can get them. Yeah, we can get them started. And the final one is Azure. Would anyone know who? Well, let me ask this: would anyone know anyone who's from Azure that's been contributing to Kubernetes?
So there's one person. I can maybe ask him as well.
Yeah,
so,
JC. I forgot his name.
Oh, I don't know if Srini is working with someone
Srini, are you working with someone in Azure?
from Microsoft? But I do know someone because this guy was actually helping me with their snapshots APIs. So maybe I can ask. I'm not sure if he knows, but I can definitely check.
Yeah, please. We can send out an email, and the thing is, if you send out an email, we can ask them to forward it to the right team.
Yeah.
It might be better than just asking, do you know someone?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's do that. I think we should get the conversation.
So what about this? I will just give you the email address. I know the email address of the person, Fajio, so you can maybe just send the email and see.
That's all we need. Yes.
Actually, one thing I would suggest is eventually we should have sub items on the spreadsheet to track these, and so people can pick up ownership. That's how CSI does. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether we are ready for that yet. But at some point in time, we should do that.
Okay.
Maybe for 1.2.2 planning. Would that make sense, Sri?
Yeah.
1.2.2, like Kubernetes 1.22.
What are you saying? You want to? Oh, you want to create another special? So we do have like.
Right, we have one item coded. So we create some sub items underneath it. One for the driver for GC, or one for the Azure, and so on and so forth, and then see if somebody picks up as an owner. So
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. So like SIG storage has that spreadsheet. So is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
so you can have something similar. Yeah.
When we do 1.22 planning, we can add these items.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. So Srini, how do we go about doing that?
Oh, that's very simple. I mean, once the spreadsheet is created for 1.22, we can add items and see if there is any takers. So.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So Srini, I will defer to you for making that happen.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have a good plan in place. The next important thing is getting the KEP or showing to the Kubernetes, the rest of the Kubernetes community that what we're doing. So everyone who's been contributing, it's important that you go and make the changes to the KEP and or see the changes that have been made to the KEP and fill in anything that's missing and reword anything that needs to be reworded. It's going to be important to take this project to the next step where we are alpha and we are API reviewed and it's a part of the Kubernetes release document where we can start talking about Cozy as something that's alpha status and something that others can try. Does it make sense? Perfect. Okay. All right. So I think we can end the meeting now. We have 5 minutes left. Again, if you have any questions, right now is a good time to ask. If not, let's continue this discussion on Monday. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.